Today on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional lands of First Nations. Bonjour, Tansei, Tawau, that is Cree. For guests, you are welcome. There is room here. Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, Premier, provincial and federal ministerial colleagues, welcome to Edmonton. My name is Randy Boissonneau and I serve as the Minister of Tourism, Associate Minister of Finance and Member of Parliament for Edmonton Centre. I want to send a special thank you to my friend and colleague from down the QE2, the Member of Parliament for Calgary Skyview, George Sahal. George, thank you for being here today and for your advocacy and helping us get to this important day. Chers collègues, bienvenue à Edmonton pour une annonce qui est critique dans la vie des Edmontoniens et des Albertains. Une annonce d'un programme qui transformera les vies des familles et surtout des femmes et qui donnera un nouveau souffle à l'économie albertaine. It is my great honor to be able to serve as host this morning for a truly good day for Alberta families, delivering on a core promise that we made to Canadians, one that builds on years of hard work and advocacies from families across the country. What we are here to announce today will mean better, more affordable lives for families across this province. It will open up opportunities. It will grow our economy, and it will lay the foundation for a better future. Without further ado, then, let's get to that announcement. J'ai l'immense plaisir d'inviter au micro une Albertaine, une députée de grande renommée de Toronto. I have the great pleasure to welcome up to the podium and to welcome back home to Edmonton, one of the architects of this historic day. She is an incredible and devoted MP for Toronto, and we also feel a great deal of pride about her right here in Alberta too. As the first female Minister of Finance, her inaugural budget in 2021 laid the groundwork for today's announcement. Her actions and her leadership alongside the Prime Minister have already helped to create more opportunity and a better, more affordable future for Canadian families and, in particular, Canadian women. Please welcome Canada's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Honourable Minister Freeland.
Okay, good morning, Edmonton. Hi, everyone. Merci, Randy, pour cette aimable présentation. C'est merveilleux d'être ici avec vous tous pour cette annonce historique. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered in Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting ground and home for many First Nations and Métis people. Early learning and childcare has long been a feminist issue. Canadian feminists have been fighting for it for more than half a century. But COVID-19 reminded us all that it is also an urgent economic policy. Notre gouvernement s'est engagé à investir jusqu'à 30 milliards de dollars sur 5 ans et 9,2 milliards de dollars par année par la suite en financement permanent combiné à des investissements intérieurs pour concrétiser ce rêve de longue date d'un système pan-canadien d'apprentissage et de garde des jeunes enfants. Accessible, affordable early learning and childcare is important to me, not just as a working mother, but also as Finance Minister, because it delivers a jobs and growth hat trick. It allows both mothers and fathers to work, increasing our labor force, which in turn drives economic growth and makes life more affordable for young families. It creates well-paid jobs for early learning educators, and we have some hardworking ones here today who are mostly women and who do such important work. And it gives all children the best possible start in life, helping us raise an outstanding generation of young Canadians. Childcare is critically important to our economy. It is as much a critical piece of infrastructure as a road or a grain elevator or a railway. Now, childcare is important for all Canadian women and children and families. And I'm just thrilled that today we now have deals with 9 provinces and territories. Though in those provinces and territories, 60% of Canada's children live. So that's fantastic. But I'm going to confess to you all that today's deal with Alberta has special personal meaning for me. And that is because of 2 Alberta women. I might get emotional, I'm warning you. One of them is my late mother, Helena Comiac Freeland. She was a feminist in a time and a place when that was really hard. And she was one of the Alberta women who, when the Royal Commission on the Status of Women came out just over 50 years ago with their historic report calling for the urgent creation of a national system of early learning and childcare, she heard that. And she, with her friends, they worked so hard to build it. Well, they didn't quite get there. But I was in the kitchen playing on the floor when I heard them working hard. And I knew how important it was. And so I really want to say, first of all, to Alberta's grandmothers, to that amazing generation of second-wave feminists, you started this work, and I am so pleased we are able to say to you today, we are getting the job done. And I want to mention a second Alberta mother who has inspired me and who I called first thing this morning when I woke up. Her name is Josephine. She's an agronomist and a farmer. She farms with her husband outside Fairview. She's 32 years old. She has 2 kids, a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old. The Prime Minister, after the 2019 election, he appointed me Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs. And so I thought I'd better go back to the Peace Country and hear what Albertans are thinking. So in January 2020, I held a roundtable with Peace Country farmers. They had many things to criticize me about, I'm not going to lie to you. But Josephine was there. And when it was her turn to speak, she said the thing that was the most missing in her life was early learning and childcare. She said, we have tractors and combines and big machinery. I can't have my kids running around. And I am a key person in this farm. I'm the agronomist. And so when the Prime Minister asked me to serve as his finance minister, I thought of my mother, and I also thought of Josephine and the thousands and thousands and thousands of Alberta mothers like her. So I am so happy we're able to do this. But I think we all know, we're in Edmonton, City of Champions, and there is an important game that's going to be played tomorrow night. And Edmontonians know that to score goals, to achieve something which is big, what you need is leadership. You need the courage to do something big and important. And the person in our government and in our country who has provided that leadership on childcare and on so many other issues is the man whose cabinet I am really privileged to serve in, our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. Monsieur le Premier Ministre, à vous la parole.
Bonjour tout le monde. Quel plaisir de vous voir aujourd'hui. What a great day to be back in Edmonton, here in Alberta, with a big announcement that is going to make a huge difference in the lives of Albertan families, obviously, but also in our economic recovery as we move forward. I want to start by thanking the YMCA Shirley Stollery Childcare for having us here today. It's great to be here with, obviously, the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, Chrystia Freeland, Minister Karina Gould, Minister Boissonneau, and MP George Chahal, and excellent as well to be joined by Premier Kenney and Minister Schultz for today's announcement. Parents in Edmonton and across Alberta, you get why affordable childcare matters. These past year and a half has illustrated the challenges that families face and the need for childcare. I think one of the things that really came through on this past year and a half is that making sure we have proper support for families, proper support for young kids that will allow parents to get back to work is unbelievably important, not just for families, not just for those young kids to get the best start in life they possibly can, not just for moms who are all too often facing impossible choices about whether to be there for their kids or to contribute to their family and their community. But it's also become very, very clear for business leaders, for small businesses, for big businesses, that childcare is not just a social program. It's about growing the economy as well. And that's what has been made obvious over the past many months, and that's why we're so glad to be here today. Les familles méritent qu'on investisse dans leur présent, dans leur avenir. L'économie a besoin qu'on investisse dans les travailleurs de l'avenir, et c'est pour ça que c'est une annonce si importante pour les gens ici en Alberta, mais à travers le pays, pendant que nous avançons avec ces accords sur les garderies et petite enfance. Now, I think people know that the provinces and the federal government don't always get along on everything, and there's always going to be points of disagreement. But I am really, really pleased to be here today with Premier Kenney and the government of Alberta to demonstrate that on the things that matter most to citizens, on the things that matter to the people that we serve, we can get big things done. That's exactly what we've been able to do here today with Alberta on moving forward with a historic agreement on childcare that's going to make a real and concrete difference in the lives of Albertans. Within 5 years, $10 a day childcare will be a reality right across the province. By the end of next year, childcare fees will be cut in half for Albertan families. The province will be creating over 40,000 new spaces in early learning and childcare, and we're going to strengthen and update the wage grid so that early childhood educators get the kind of training, support, and wages they need to contribute in such an important way to not just the present of our society, but the future of it as well. This is big news for families, and it's yet another example of how governments work together to deliver in real, tangible ways for people. Un système de garde d'enfants fort, c'est ce que souhaitent tous les parents à travers le pays. Avec cette annonce aujourd'hui, 8 provinces et un territoire font maintenant ce grand pas. We are so much closer to our goal of lowering fees for every family across the country and creating 250,000 new spaces right across Canada. The fact that we were able to do this with Alberta today is a clear indication that it is within grasp for all families across the country, and I really expect and hope the remaining provinces will step up, come on board, and see that investing in kids, investing in families, investing in businesses, but also investing in the future of our country is what all Canadians expect. We're focused on making life more affordable for families and on building a strong economy, on childcare, on housing, on good jobs for people now and into the future. We have a lot of work to do. And with that, I'm very happy to pass it over to Premier Kenney and to talk about the work that we've done and the work that we're continuing to do. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Jason.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Welcome to Alberta to you and Minister Gould, and welcome back to Alberta to Minister Freeland. This is a good day for Alberta families. Affordable childcare makes a big difference for working parents. Through the hard work of Minister Schultz, Alberta's government has secured an agreement with the federal government to ensure that more Alberta parents have access to affordable childcare, and that's a very good thing. This agreement means bringing $3.8 billion tax dollars paid by Albertans to Ottawa back to Albertans to address a key priority for so many families. This means that parents in Alberta will see a reduction in their fees of an average of 50% in early 2022 and will pay an average of $10 a day by 2025-26. The province has secured a deal that allows Alberta parents to have the type of childcare that works best for them, which has been a key element of any deal that this government would sign. This means that all types of licensed childcare for kids aged up to kindergarten, like preschools, daycare, and licensed family day homes, will now be supported through this deal with the federal government. And to ensure that every child has the care that works for them, there's funding for those with specific needs, such as linguistic, cultural, and special learning supports. In addition to private spaces, the agreement includes a plan to add at least 42,500 new licensed nonprofit and day home and childcare spaces over the next 5 years, meaning more jobs, more access, and more of the spaces that Alberta families rely on. This is critical because over half of childcare spaces in this province, uniquely across the country, are in private childcare spaces, with the majority of those businesses being owned and operated by women. Just one of the reasons that Alberta has the highest percentage of women-owned businesses in Canada. This is good news for parents and families, especially as Alberta's economy continues to recover. This deal not only helps many Alberta parents get back to work, it creates opportunities for passionate entrepreneurs to start a business. Our government was elected on a mandate to grow the economy, make life better for Albertans, and to fight for a fair deal in the Federation. This agreement will help to grow the economy and certainly will help to make life better for many families. It also helps in our effort to secure a fairer deal by bringing more of Albertans' tax dollars back to the province. Of course, Alberta will continue our broader efforts to secure a fair deal through the whole system of fiscal federalism, including equalization, and, of course, championing responsible resource development. But today I want to thank our partners in the federal government for having come to this agreement, and I will now like to invite the Federal Minister of Families, Children and Social Development, the Honourable Karina Gould, to please bring her remarks.
Great. Good morning. Bonjour tout le monde. Thank you very much, Premier Kenney. I am incredibly proud to be here in Edmonton today alongside the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, and my dear friends, Minister Boissonnault and MP Chahal, for this historic announcement on early learning and childcare in Alberta. As has been mentioned by my colleagues, today's agreement will be a generational game changer for kids and families in Alberta. And I am so proud of this federal investment of $3.8 billion over the next 5 years to provide quality, affordable, inclusive childcare to Alberta families. Des services de garde d'enfants abordables, comme je le dis souvent, c'est bon pour les enfants, c'est bon pour les parents, surtout pour les mères, et c'est bon pour l'économie. Of course, the women's movement has known this for 50 years. And the pandemic has put into sharp view just how important childcare is to our economy. So I would first like to say thank you. Thank you to the women and men who have been fighting for affordable, quality, inclusive childcare in this province for decades. Your steadfast activism and advocacy has landed us to where we are today. And today's landmark agreement will result in fee reductions for licensed childcare spaces by 50% by the end of 2022. On average, that is over $5,000 per child per year for Alberta families. And families with young children, often at the beginning of their careers, stretched with the high costs of raising a family, will see a real, tangible impact over the next year. And this agreement, as has been mentioned, will also see the creation of over 42,000 new licensed not-for-profit public and home-based childcare spaces over the next 5 years. That is in addition to the existing licensed spaces. So for all those advocates out there, for all those childcare providers, this ambitious agreement will continue to need your support to meet its objectives. Et cette entente historique prévoit également des investissements importants pour attirer, retenir et soutenir nos éducateurs de la petite enfance, à qui nous confions notre ressource la plus précieuse, nos enfants. As a parent of a child in daycare myself, I know firsthand how much we rely on our childcare providers to create a safe and loving environment, as well as stimulate the development and early learning of our children. I will never forget the day I dropped my son off at daycare for the first time, and I was much more anxious than he was, which I'm sure many parents can relate to. But any anxiety that we had vanished with the care and attention he received from his ECE. She welcomed him with a warm smile and loving arms, and he didn't even look back at me. ECEs are the heart of childcare, and they must also be at the heart of our Canada-wide system. Et cet accord permettra non seulement d'augmenter leur salaire, mais aussi de leur donner les outils et les ressources dont ils ont besoin pour réussir. Today, Alberta joins 8 other provinces and territories as we build our Canada-wide early learning and childcare system, working towards $10 a day childcare for children across the country. As a parent, a working mother, and as the Minister of Families, Children and Social Development, I would like to also take a moment to recognize and profoundly thank everyone involved in getting us to today, and especially Minister Schultz, with whom we had a lot of conversations and with whom I worked very closely over the past 2 weeks. There was tremendous political will on both sides, and I am thrilled that we are here today. J'ai hâte de voir des services de garde abordables, de qualité et inclusifs pour les enfants et les familles de l'Alberta. Je sais que cela aura un impact profond et positif. With that, I would like to turn it over to Minister Schultz to say a few words. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Well, thank you all for joining us today, and thank you, Prime Minister Trudeau, Premier Kenney, Deputy Prime Minister Freeland, and Minister Gould, as well as our 2 MP colleagues for joining us today. I also want to first thank Nick Parkinson, President and CEO of the YMCA here in Edmonton, for hosting us today, as well as Shannon Durham, President and CEO of the YMCA Calgary, and Heather Gom, President of It's a Child's World Family Day Home Agency, who have also taken the time out of their busy schedules to be with us for this important announcement. I also want to thank the hundreds of parents, early childhood educators, childcare operators right across this province who've asked questions, who've given us feedback and ideas, and who really drove us to sign the best agreement possible for Alberta families. Thank you. Today is, in fact, a good day for parents and kids across Alberta. After countless hours and conversations with the federal and provincial governments, business leaders, childcare operators, parents, and Albertans, we've landed on a made-in-Alberta deal that will support working parents, meet the unique needs of Alberta families, drive economic recovery, and make childcare more affordable all across the province. As a working mom of 2, I do know firsthand how important it is to find affordable, high-quality childcare for your family. I hear this from Albertans every day, from parents, operators, the business community, and of course, working women. I also hear about the importance of choice and flexibility, and of course, affordability, especially for those who need it most, and of course, making sure that spaces are available in every corner of the province for parents who need them. I've also heard from nonprofit and independent childcare operators alike that our mixed market here in Alberta works. That in addition to the fact that fees and quality are not always correlated with private or not-for-profit providers, I've heard loud and clear that ambitious space creation targets needs the collaboration, creativity, and innovation of private and non-profit providers. That is why I fought hard to make sure we had a Made in Alberta plan that works for families right here. So under this new agreement, parents can expect to see childcare fees in licensed programs all across Alberta reduced by half on average starting in January. That is just a few weeks away. And by 2026, the average cost of a licensed childcare space in Alberta will drop to an average of $10 a day. This plan also takes the feedback that we heard from Albertans and makes sure that additional dollars are directed to those parents who truly need it the most. But we know affordability is only one thing that parents look at, and not often the first when choosing childcare. That is why this plan addresses quality and accessibility, because affordability and flexibility are only helpful if there are enough spaces to meet the needs of parents in places where those parents need them. So in addition to private spaces, we'll add at least 42,500 new licensed childcare spaces in nonprofits and day homes over the next 5 years, targeting areas in the province, especially in rural Alberta, that don't have any options for those working parents. We also know high-quality childcare absolutely starts with qualified staff and educators, and this agreement includes over $300 million to support our educators, to hire more, but also to help support their development and training. And our educators will continue to receive some of the highest wages in Canada to support them as they support kids and families right across the province. As I've said many times over the course of these negotiations, Alberta needs a childcare system that works for us. The majority of childcare centres are run by female entrepreneurs or their family-owned businesses, working to make a living and supporting their own families while meeting the needs of their neighbours and their communities. And they not only drive innovation and quality, but they provide excellent care to kids right across Alberta. That's one of the many reasons, again, why we fought so hard to make sure that all existing licensed spaces in the private sector, including those that are still in approvals and construction, are included in this plan, that they have access to supports for affordability, quality, inclusion, and have the opportunity to support their kids and families. We've also made sure this agreement allows parents to choose specialized care for kids with disabilities or unique language, cultural, or learning needs. So again, this is a good day for parents. Parents like my constituent Yadi, who I spoke with just last night. I believe Yadi's daughters are in fact in one of Shannon's childcare programs, and I did run into her while touring her centre. So I asked her last night, why does something like this matter to you? And she told me, as a mom of two, an entrepreneur, she runs her own business in South Calgary. And I remember at the beginning, I ran into her. She was carrying her newborn baby in the bucket while going out to meetings to obviously grow her business. And through COVID, she said she wasn't sure day to day how things were going to go, how business was going to be. And programs like this will make sure that she can run her business, support her family, and contribute to the economy. It reduces a huge amount of stress for her and her family, and she also can have confidence that her children are well taken care of, well fed, safe, and growing and developing, but also interacting with other kids, which, as we know, after coming out of the last 2 years, is also really important for young children and their families. This is also important not only for parents like Yadi in Calgary or in cities like Lethbridge, Red Deer, and Grand Prairie, but this matters for parents in Coaldale, Anzac, Hinton, and High Level, all areas of the province that absolutely need childcare spaces to support working parents. And for parents who are trying to juggle working part-time or working from home, they need access to preschool. That's an excellent choice as well, and that again is included in this plan. For parents who have to go back to work early and need access to infant spaces, I can tell you I was that mom, and those spaces are very hard to come by, and those are supported in this plan. For parents who are nurses and frontline staff, those getting us through the pandemic, or those working in industry, driving our economy, who need flexible and overnight childcare, that's why we're here, and this is exactly who this is for. Because many of you have heard me say this before, and I know other speakers have said this before today, that despite the fact there are many things that we might agree with, certainly I have said there are lots of things I disagree with the federal government on, but the importance of childcare for working parents isn't one of them. At the end of the day, we did exactly what we said we would do. I committed to getting the best deal possible for Alberta families, the flexibility to deliver a Made in Alberta approach. I committed to getting a fair deal, making sure Albertans' hard-earned tax dollars came back to support working parents in a way that works for us here in this province, and today we delivered on that. So to parents across Alberta, whether you're getting back to work as we come out of this pandemic, continuing to work through the recovery, or upgrading your education and skills, we want to give you as many options as possible when it comes to childcare, regardless of where you live. And while the jobs numbers continue to increase and our economy rebounds, I hope today's news brings some additional hope and excitement for a bright future ahead for you, your children, and families across the province. And I certainly hope that while they're here, our guests from the federal government take the time to meet with some of the Albertans whose hard work makes programs like this across the country possible. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Minister Schultz. You made me think of entrepreneurs in my own riding of Edmonton Centre, Jonathan Cruz and Celia Sangalang, new Canadians who run a 24/7 daycare, and they have a fantastic facility for 80 youngsters. Before we head to signing this historic agreement, I just want to say, Minister Gould, Corinna, during this election, every time it was raised, childcare was number 1, number 2, or number 3 on the minds of Edmontonians. And I just want to make sure that you understand that for the decades to come, the investment that you have led, supported by the Deputy Prime Minister, the Premier, and Minister Schultz, that I will always say your name on the doors, my friend, because we were elected in 2015 and you got this done. Thank you for everyone in Alberta for your leadership. Can we have a round of applause for Minister Gould, Minister Schultz for getting this done? Thank you. Okay. Personal moment over. Let's get the dignitaries over to the signing table, and a media availability will follow. Thank you all very much. Merci beaucoup.